Weekly, your favorite videographer from Two Hats Publishing. I welcome you to another Two Hats special of community events. Let's look in and see what's really happening.
Good afternoon and welcome to Lambda Weekly. I'm Dave Taffet and I'm here in the studio with late Patti Fink and Lerone Landis. Patti walked in like 4 minutes early. This marriage thing has just not agreed with her at all. She's been here before the show started every single week since she's gotten married.
How long have you been married now? 3 months?
Since April 1st, so how long is that?
Yeah, a year and a half.
About 15 years together and 16 years on this show. So
right.
You know, hence the late Patti Fink. So
no, hence late Patti Fink because of I'm on my way.
Well, if you keep this up throughout the year,
okay. So here's how
we got to drop the name.
No.
Previously late.
The previously late Patti Fink. Okay, so here's how marriage has changed in my household. For the first time, Brian said to me, "Oh, I took all the money out of your wallet." I said, "Why?" He said, "Because I needed it."
But you know, at least he told you.
So that's the first time after how many years of marriage?
Well, we got married in June.
Okay.
Yeah. But we've been together 5 years.
Yeah, been together 5 years. So after 5 years, that's the first time he's ever taken all the money out of your wallet?
But he waited. Well, this is the first time he told me.
Oh. And see, there's not a darn thing you can do about it now, is there?
Not really.
I thought community property, you split things in half. Oh, our guests today are Amanda Robinson and Cozette Kosary. Cozette is standing in for Liz Hernandez, who's standing in for Sharon Herrera. As a last-minute stand-in, thank you so much for being here, Cozette, Amanda. Always nice to have you. We're going to talk about Yoots.
And that means youth.
I was wondering if that was the typo.
For those who don't know.
My cousin Vinny, you know.
There you
Yoots.
go.
Yeah, Yoots.
Yoots.
Right, and for my wedding, my cousin Vinny came. My cousin Vinny was down, and Vinny did it.
Calls them Yoots.
He calls them Yoots. He was a teacher in New York City too.
But more specifically, LGBTQ Yoots.
Yoots, right? LGBT Yoots.
There you go.
I can put on my Bronx real easily. Let's just get this out of the way. Right away, we'll announce it toward the end of the show, too. You're doing 2 events coming up. One's a back-to-school party. Tell us about that.
The back-to-school block party is August 13th from 4 to 7 p.m. at the Oaklawn United Methodist Church. The address is 3014 Oaklawn Avenue.
Cedar Springs at Oaklawn.
Yeah. It's diagonal from the Legacy of Love Monument. It's a back-to-school drive where we'll be providing food, school supplies, and school clothing for LGBT youth, homeless youth, and any youth who might need supplies.
And those are coming from?
Various locations. We've had sponsorship from Walgreens, from Walmart.
And if you want to donate to it?
If you'd like to donate, there's a couple Dropbox locations on the Cedar Springs Strip, UPS, Alexander's, and the Oaklawn Library.
Okay.
We're looking for any kind of gently used clothing, new clothing, gift cards, school supplies.
Any specifics? Is there any way to look at a list of maybe things you need short of?
If you go to our social media, it's at RLC365. We have the flyer that lists all the supplies we're looking for.
Okay.
The other event you have coming up is your Teen Pride event. Is that going to be at Cathedral of Hope again?
Not this year.
Oh, where's it going to be this
We've
year?
moved all of our events to the to be closer to the Strip this year, so it's also at the Oaklawn United Methodist Church.
Oh, okay, nice.
Okay. So protesters will be where?
We don't know. Hopefully nowhere.
Because there's construction going on one side. It's
So
going to
the
be...
goal is to make it as difficult as possible for
I see.
the protesters
I
to
see.
have protest.
Although there's the old adage that, you know, if you don't have protesters, you haven't really done your job.
This is true. But in light of everything that's going on, you know, for us, our goal is to create a safe environment for young people. And so, you know, we had a concern, you know, and I'm sure like most parents feel concerned about sending their kids, you know, to an event, especially now LGBT events, in mass gatherings, and wonder about their safety. So for us, we wanted to make sure that we created an environment that was difficult for you to create a hostile situation if you wanted to, and at the same time heavily exposed to the public. And so I think the church is definitely going to be a good space for us to do that.
I mean, one way to do that really well, and I'm going to just scoot down because our microphone is popping up and down. One way to do that is to invite everybody over to the cathedral and then bus them elsewhere and let the protesters
Exactly.
Protest the wrong place.
Right.
Because that's a group that, the group that was there protesting last year is a group that, unlike Westboro Baptist Church, you know, the God hates
Everybody.
everybody.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
This one is considered dangerous.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
And that's what our biggest concern is. And so for us, we see it as, you know, it's youth, it's young people, they're innocent. So it's another bullying situation is kind of how I view it. You know, go protest adults. People who can stand up for themselves, people who have been educated enough to give you that dialogue back and forth that you want to have. You know, young people aren't prepared for that just yet. But I think in us having events like Teen Pride and exposing them to positivity and people in the community, then we are preparing them for those uncomfortable conversations with those protesters.
Now, I said I was going to start with this, and then we kind of got off track. I can't imagine us getting off track. Can't imagine us getting off track, though.
Right.
Ever. Amanda is best known in the community for taking in homeless youth and saving their lives. She just got a text message from somebody that was just really sweet.
Yeah.
Read that for us. You don't have to use the name.
Okay. That message says...
Or can you give us a little bit of background without using her
Okay,
name?
so a little bit of background. This young person came to us last summer. They were in a terrible situation at home. A friend of a friend that David knew actually reached out to us and said, hey, I have a young person who needs help. And actually, Cozette and I were together the day that he mentioned it to us. And we got the contact information. Actually, the person reached out. They brought the kid to us. The young person was underage, which was difficult for us because we only had a certain amount of time that we could offer our services without having to go the legal route, which is CPS and, you know, all of that uncomfortable stuff. And so, but we wanted to connect, and Cozette and I have to give Deco and Myra and Ruby, you know, a lot of people on my team, they all stepped up. I called. I actually had to work that day, and I made the call, and my team stepped up, and they all came running. And they took care of this young person, and now we have a message from him saying that if it wasn't for the group of people and that has been a part of his life, he says he don't think he would be alive. And so he feels like we've saved his life in that aspect, and he's doing really, really well. And so we're really proud of that. So it makes it worthwhile.
This youth was very, whenever we met with him, he was very suicidal. He had run away from home. His parents didn't really seem to care that he had run away. They kind of knew that he had been staying with some people, but they weren't necessarily adamant about him coming home because he had recently come out to them and they didn't approve. They had tried some conversion therapy processes on him and all sorts of terrible things.
Hence the suicidal.
Yeah.
Right.
Because that's what conversion therapy teaches kids. Basically is do it our way or if you kill yourself, what's the difference?
Right.
Yeah, we're about to start working on an ordinance to prevent it in this city.
That's great.
Yes, that's great.
And a number of pastors have signed a letter
Maybe in the
supporting
county.
that. That would be nice if we could get the whole county, but we think we can get the city faster.
Let's talk.
If we can do it in the county, that would be great. Yeah, the wider area, the better.
So it says this young man, is he still in school? Still has a roof over his head?
This young man was 16. He had dropped out because his parents thought by doing homeschool that would be less of a burden on their personal images.
But they were completely unqualified to teach him anything at home. Yeah, right.
Yeah, I mean, the purpose of homeschool, he was an embarrassment to them. You know, they felt like he was an embarrassment to the family. This young person was into, he was finding himself, so he was dyeing his hair and, a little more flamboyant, I think, than
dyeing
parents.
his hair. I can't imagine anybody dyeing their hair.
Right. And so I think it was just that whole stigma, that the parents were not comfortable with. And that's the thing about it. I think a lot of times our families are more concerned about what society has to say versus just looking at us as individuals.
I think it's a very Southern thing too. It's like, what will the neighbors think?
Oh, absolutely. To be honest
it's a
with
big
you,
deal,
I think that's most of where the homophobia comes in. Is they're concerned about themselves.
Right.
What are people going to think about us? Where did we go wrong?
What did I do wrong as a parent?
Exactly.
Ultimately,
Right.
Even I went through that with my parents. And my mom has 2 gay children, obviously, and so me and my brother. And so for both of us to come out within 3 months of each other, literally, for her as a parent, now backtracking or fast forwarding, 10 plus years, she's been able to come to us and say, "Oh, I've always known. I always knew. I just was in denial about it. I didn't want to accept it." But the day that we told her, it was like she took all the blame on her own. It was everything was about her. What did I do? What was I missing?
Just the idea that there's any blame
Right.
to be taken.
Absolutely.
Or that somebody feels like, how did this happen?
Well, and I think that that's a lack of education because parents, I guess, whenever their child comes out as LGBT, they realize, oh, my child's not going to have a relationship, they're not going to have kids, and that's changing with marriage equality passing and adoptions happening with LGBT couples. It's not as quick as some of us would like, but it is coming about. And so parents are now being able to realize, okay, my child still has the option of a family. And it's still, some of our kids come to us. Last year we had one youth, we walked in the Pride Parade together, and she was on the back of the golf cart coming back up, and she was like, I've never seen lesbian parents. This is really cool because now it means that I can have children, I can have that family aspect that isn't necessarily always attached to the LGBT stigma.
Right.
So,
Right.
Actually, when we were putting Dallas Voice together this week, one of the stories we did was on in vitro fertilization, and it's a new company up in Addison that is reaching out to the LGBT community about having kids.
Right.
But the couple that started this is a straight couple, and there's a picture in there of the husband and wife with their child, and I looked at it and I showed it to our publisher. I said, okay, so here's a father and a mother, and they both have the same child. How does that work? Because none of my friends did it that way, particularly. So I just thought it was odd. But that's me and my different perspective on things. Okay, so tell us about this person who came to you. You told us about what was wrong in his family and how he did terrible things like dye his hair.
Right.
And he was an embarrassment to them. Tell me about him. Once he was there and was out of that situation and felt like he was staying with you and wasn't going to be thrown out.
Right.
And could finish school. Did he finish school?
He's still in school currently. We ended up...
because he was underage, we had to go the whole CPS route. It was actually really difficult. We called all of the local shelters to see if anyone had any space available. Nobody would take him because he was a runaway. He had to be referred by a court liaison or by police security or by a CPS representative. And so we were told to go to a safe space, which was the local fire department on the strip, and we showed up and they didn't know what to do because most of the safe space children that they get are babies. They've never had teenagers come into them. And so Deco and I worked together. I worked with the police and the fire department to kind of figure out the procedure for this element while she entertained the youth, and she got to build a relationship with him. A couple of the officers and firemen showed him around the unit. They got to ride the pull down and all that stuff, so they had a little bit of fun while we were doing the dirty work, I guess, of
you
calling.
was even able to ask some uncomfortable questions during that time that he probably necessarily wouldn't be able to ask his parents. So that put him in a great position to be able to do that.
And so once he was living in a stable place for a while,
they actually took him to Austin Shelter, which is actually in Fort Worth. And they are on the way to Fort Worth, and the police had to drive him across county lines because that was the only shelter that had space for this youth. All the ones in Dallas County were booked, so they had to take him across county lines to give him a bed for the night. And then they actually reached out to his aunt and uncle who were willing to take him in, and they helped to raise him. He lost a lot of weight, started modeling. He's doing really well right now. He's back in school. He's really happy. He had a relationship a while back.
Still in a relationship, apparently.
Yeah. So he's still with the aunt and uncle.
Yes.
Awesome.
For now.
Awesome.
Yeah. And they are accepting, and he's growing. So hopefully he's going to be good.
I just think there should be some law against the parents who refuse to take care of their children.
How about we have community property and in this state, and we also have, if as a married couple, if you were to split, you would still be responsible for, let's say Danny got custody of Gabrielle, you would be responsible for caring for her.
Child support.
How about when both parents get rid of their kid, both parents are responsible for child support for this kid, and in fact, why can't he even sue for ownership of that house? Why do the parents get a safe space to live, but the kid doesn't? Put the parents out on the street. They'll figure out easier. They should have more experience. They should figure out easier what to do and where to get a hotel room or whatever. And if they can't, geez, sorry, maybe you shouldn't throw your kid out.
Right.
Or create an environment where he absolutely can't live with you.
Right.
Mm-hmm. But that's just me.
Right. Well, then the downside to that is when you throw the kids out, it's a difference if they have the life skills that they need to be productive.
Well, and that's
but you're putting them out without life skills. And so I think that's when we kind of fall into that catch-22 where they make up 18% of the juvenile justice system, because now I'm falling into all these negative things that I shouldn't be falling into because it's survival at this point. And so I'm willing to do whatever it takes in order to survive. And it's because I really didn't get the life skills initially at home that I needed to go out and be productive.
We need to take a break. We're talking about Utes. And we talked about one Ute, but we'll talk about more Utes. Because there are lots more out there. It's not like this one case is anything all that much out of the ordinary, unfortunately.
No, it happens far too often.
Cozette and Amanda are our guests today. They're the Ute specialists. And Lerone, the late, and I'm David, and we'll be back with more Lambda Weekly after this.
Hey guys, I'm C.D. Kirby, and you're listening to Lambda Weekly on 89.3 KNON FM.
And I'm Dave Taffet, and I'm here in the studio with Lerone Landis and the late Patti Fink. Cozette, Kosary, and Amanda Robinson are our guests. We're talking about Utes. They save a bunch of them. And I'm laughing when I say that because it's just that simple. How big a problem is LGBT youth homelessness? And, well, let's start with homelessness. Do we even know?
It's huge. LGBT youth make up 40% of the homeless population. And the numbers here in just this city alone are astounding. And it's hard to even get a grasp of how many there actually are because there's really no reports or census. I think the last one was back in 2012 or 11. And it was done in Plano, Frisco, and it was estimated over
3,500
homeless youth.
That's a lot.
That's a lot.
And of those 3,500, about 40% are
LGBT.
That's one of the things that statistics doesn't necessarily always account for is orientation and gender. So it's hard to determine specifically how many of LGBT represent that bracket, just because that's not something that's normally asked. They might ask, are you homeless? And then they'll check the box, but they don't ask, are you gay? Are you trans? Are you lesbian?
Okay, so that's just Plano, Frisco, southern
like the
Collin
colony
area. Yeah.
Okay, so you don't see a whole lot of homeless people on the street in Collin County.
No.
Where do they go?
They couch surf. We were teenagers. You house hop. Anybody that'll take you in and let you sleep for a couple of nights or a week or 2 weeks. You know, you pile in wherever you can, and you sleep on someone's couch, or you make a pallet on the floor, or
you move in with your partner.
You move in with you find an older partner or someone who's more established, even if the situation is not the healthiest, but it's a roof, and so it becomes survival for you at that point. And I think without a lot of them knowing resources that may be available, they end up stuck in that situation or trapped in that situation, and they end up being groomed quite a bit by older partners, and we focus a lot on that. We talk a lot about that. I experienced it firsthand as a youth myself, being groomed by an older partner, and it was for me the same thing. It was for survival. It was I left home, young, and I didn't have the life skills, and here this woman was established with kids. And so it was like moving right into a ready-made home environment situation where she's a mom and cooking, so of course I'm going to get a meal every day, And so I just kind of fell into the family unit as one of the family members. And I think that's what happens with a lot of youth when they get involved with older people. But I didn't understand the damage that it was doing to me because at the time I wasn't preparing for my future and what I had going on. And then I became absorbed with what they had going on.
That's also another reason why a lot of these homeless youth fall victim to rape and circumstances such as that. We had a child last year. They wrote a story in the Dallas Voice, Johnny's Tale, about this particular youth who had been taken in. He had experienced. His story is kind of heartbreaking. He met a guy on Grindr thinking he was gonna meet the one, and they ended up pretending to be the police and taking him into his house and making him live with them instead. And then they took advantage of this boy when he turned 18, and he ended up living with Amanda as well for a time period. And it was just heartbreaking to know that this could happen to somebody, and these adults were trying to groom him to stay with him, and that they would take advantage of him for that particular case.
Do we know what happened? It was 3 adults that were involved there. 2 who sold him, and 1 who purchased him.
Right.
So this is basically trafficking.
It was definitely trafficking. It was child. And it happens so often with LGBTQ youth.
That is awful. What happened to the 3 of them?
They were prosecuted.
They were persecuted.
And convicted?
Yes.
Good.
So they're in prison now?
Yes.
Good.
Awesome. That's an awesome outcome.
Yes.
I can imagine.
It's one of very few.
But not every story is that way. We met 2 girls. Amanda works at the perfume store in the mall. And one of the girls came to her, just was talking to her about her relationship. And I met with her as well. And she was telling me how her parents didn't really want her around, so her and her girlfriend broke into an apartment complex and were staying there
in a vacant unit.
And this lady at the mall she found them somehow and basically was like, well, now y'all have to stay with me. And she had 12 kids, so one of the girls was basically babysitting, and the other girl had to go and work the mall with her, and the girl that was at the mall was actually 16, and so it was breaking some child labor laws, but it wasn't going unreported. Right. So
because they felt indebted to this person who had taken them in, they're working her business over 12, way over the labor law as far as hours that's recommended to work. She was underpaying them and barely feeding them.
Wow.
And but it was a roof, and so they were willing to accept it just because. And so,
And these two girls, we weren't particularly able to help them. They fled before we were able to get them any help. So that's something that is...
It happens often as well.
So when you talk about teaching them life skills, how do they react when you talk to them about something like that?
A lot of times they're surprised because they don't know. See, I think the thing about parenting, and I think a lot of parents forget this, is when you become a parent, you're now placed on assignment. And your assignment is to teach. And when you teach, you have to explain. And my parents were old school. My parents came from the old school. And so it was just do it because I said so. Don't ask me why. Just because I said so. But now with kids being exposed to so much, you have to explain in detail, why am I going to school? What's the purpose of this education? How can I benefit from this education?
Why you shouldn't talk to strangers?
Why shouldn't I talk to strangers? What are the dangers in that? And what are the precautions you're trying to prevent? Don't just tell me not to do something because you said so, because then I don't get it that way and I become rebellious. You know?
Right. And when she says life skills, it also means like learning how to create a personal budget and learning how to grocery shop within that budget and being able to account for, I'm now an adult, I have an electric bill, I might have a car payment, I have rent to pay, I need to also account for food, I might need a new uniform for work. Like,
sounds like prioritizing.
And
I'd like to go out tonight, and that would be fun. I have to go to work tomorrow, but we'll think about that tomorrow after, and learning responsibility.
Well, and that's something that a lot of times, like when you're living with your parents, you don't have the responsibility of bills. They normally carry that responsibility.
But good parenting includes, especially when you're a teenager,
list of chores.
Well, explaining those kinds of things. What are we doing today? Well, we're paying bills. Why?
Why? Exactly. And also coping skills. We are so emotional, just the human race, period. And so when we get rattled so fast when adversity comes, and so we have to teach them, especially living LBGT, you're going to constantly have adversity of some sort. And how you deal with that is going to determine how successful you are moving forward. If you allow every little thing to rattle you and to cause you to just want to quit and give up, then you're never going to get anywhere. So you have to constantly get those coping skills. What works for you, and what worked for me may not work for you. But you have to teach me how to find those different things.
I'm thinking about just responsibility and paying bills, for example.
Right.
You can either yell at the kid for turning the air conditioning down and keeping it down all the time, just real low, or you can explain to them the lower it is, the higher our electric bill is, and that translates into a much higher electric. So you can use it as a lesson.
It's everything you're doing as a parent you have to go into teacher mode. Every single thing. Even the uncomfortable conversations like safe sex, you have to go into an educational mode where you're explaining constantly what the details are and why you're explaining these things and the importance of it.
I wonder if we could talk a little bit about bullying. There's bullying at home, there's bullying in the church, there's bullying in school. Last night I was talking...
Bullying in the presidential race.
Absolutely. I was just talking to a guy last night, and he's from the Middle East, and he was talking about when he came out, and he has a little brother, and he told me that his little brother was totally accepting of it, and he goes, but this younger generation, they don't care. And I just kind of wonder sometimes if we overcredit the younger generation, because we know, there's never 100% anything. There's not 100% of all young folks these days are accepting. So when you all get the ones in your hands that you're helping, aside from what they experience at home, what have they said? What's it like these days in school around young folks? Is it a lot of bullying?
A lot of the youth that we've actually interacted with belong to schools with GSAs. That's a gay straight alliance or a gender sexuality alliance club within the school. So whenever they do experience bullying, they have a support system within the school of peers who are also LGBT that they can go to and seek guidance from or help. Or there's also a lot of people are now working on protocols and procedures on how to address bullying within schools, especially trans bullying, because that's not something that we've considered before. Like within the school policy handbook, it's now things that are needing to be added as an addendum or whatnot. But So those are some of the things.
There was just a study about GSAs in schools and the effect they have. Schools that have GSAs have less bullying going on.
Yes.
And what they're saying is it's not for people who are members of the GSA. In general, a school that has a GSA has less bullying, and it probably has to do with the administration's policy toward it, their mindset, and just the idea also that, oh, there's a whole support group there, so maybe it's not okay among everybody else if I pick on that one kid.
Another big part of GSAs is even though they're started by students, they have to be sponsored by some staff, an adult at that school. Yes. So if that adult is usually another teacher, then they got an eye for it. So if they see any bullying, they're going to stop it. Right. So that, I'm sure that spreads throughout the whole school.
So when you're dealing with youth and having to place them and hopefully find some people who will give them shelter and take them in, who are not, trying to abuse them in any way, just reaching out like you've been doing, Amanda.
Fostering.
Fostering, really. Yeah. What do you do to find those homes and those foster parents, so to speak?
Well, it's different when the child is over the age of 18, because whenever they're 18 and older, they're technically considered an adult. Therefore, they're able to say, I want to stay with this person. It's generally a network of community members that we've met or come across who are willing to provide food or possibly shelter for the night. They might have some additional clothing, or they might even want to give the child a bike or
we reach out to all of our resources. Yadi Martinez has been a huge resource for us. Yadi has really come and stepped up to the plate. Every time I call Yadi, she comes running, whether it's in the middle of the night.
And she's from Cathedral of Hope, she's
formerly, she's formerly Cathedral's youth minister. And so I would call her 2 in the morning or midnight if I had someone that calls me, and she would just come running. Yadi was definitely one of those people who would definitely take a shirt off her back. I can definitely say Cosmo. Also, some of the members from the church, the Cosmo Church, Pastor Wilhorn, he's the same way. If I call him, he's coming. If we need something, if he can do it, he will.
And that's a church that's on Peak?
Haskell. 1812 North Haskell Avenue.
1812 North Haskell Avenue.
Which is one of those kind of hidden secrets.
It is a hidden secret. It's an all-inclusive church as well. And so Cosmo is definitely one of those little nuggets that you definitely want to go by and visit. They are very, very, very about the community. And so several organizations have stepped up and has tried to really offer some support as far as youth are concerned. Sharon Herrera out in Fort Worth. LGBTQ Saves. We try to do quite a bit of stuff with them because we want to keep that connection going between, the cities are right here by each other, and so it overlaps. It's impossible for it not to.
Yeah. This year we've really been trying to play up our partnerships. That's why with the block party we partnered with HRC, Human Rights Campaign, and their federal club members to do the donation drive in the aspect. And Liz has actually come across. She's never filed permits, so we've been including her in the whole process.
And your partnership with Oklahoma United Methodist Church.
Yes. This is brand new, and oh my goodness, we are very excited about that partnership.
How that church has been stepping up in the last few years.
They have really, really, really stepped up.
They actually provide a medic unit during the Pride Parade that a lot of people might not know about. They offer waters, bathroom access, and then they have an EMS there.
And sit on our steps just to watch the parade.
Yeah, absolutely. Which we're talking about even with Team Pride being there the day prior to. So, it may even be a safe space for young people as well to come and watch the parade. And they're going to try to create that environment as well the next day.
So beautiful the way they've stepped up.
Oh, yeah, I love it.
They took a look at the horizon and a look at themselves and said, we need to do more.
Right, and they realized the community that they exist in, and there is a huge need. And if you are doing the work that you say that you want to do, then you definitely have to be able to do it with your blinders on, and you just want to touch people and help people. It doesn't matter what walks of life they come from.
And it's And a lot of us have the same mission, and it's a lot harder for individual groups to constantly be like, okay, we're doing this,
Right.
we're doing this, and y'all are doing this, but they kind of have similarities. Like when you come together, you have better impact because you're meeting more people. You're able to like use your resources better. You're not both having to fight for space. You're able to come together for one space, so it makes the process a lot smoother. So it's really kind of a positive thing to have partnerships within the community, and it also exposes some people to resources that they might not know about.
That's our big thing, you know, with Real Life Connection. Our big goal with Real Life Connection is to educate, develop, and connect. And so our goal is to connect you with resources that you may not know about, connect you with other businesses that you can benefit from, or they can benefit from you. A lot of times we really don't know that there's some amazing nonprofits and organizations in this community that do some great things, but we don't know about them a lot of the times. And so we try to make sure we include that, especially for young people too. They don't, a lot of times don't know there is a Job Corps, there is a, you know, HRC or some other place that I can go to and get assistance. Even, what's the place that gives the scholarships? LEAP. You know, they may not even know that LEAP offers scholarships.
For LGBT.
You don't even know the name of it.
There's so many, you know. Try to remember everybody.
That one is done through the chamber, and
It is done through the chamber,
our guest
yes.
next week is Candy Markham,
There you go.
who runs LEAP.
Runs LEAP.
When do we take our break? You're listening to Lambda Weekly on 89.3 Knon FM. I'm Dave Taffet here in the studio with Lerone Landis and the late Patti Fink and Amanda Robinson and Cozette Kosary, who started, founded, and continue to run Real Life Connection, are our guests.
Hi, I'm Cleve Jones, and you're listening to Lambda Weekly on 89.3 KNON FM.
And this is Lambda Weekly. I'm Dave Taffet here with Lerone Landis and late Patti Fink. Amanda Robinson and Cozette Kosary do all kinds of Ute stuff. Kind of your services more than anybody else's have come about, I think, just because, ooh, so-and-so needs something. Let's do it.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like a home.
Yeah, it kind of came. I mean, it's kind of funny because it started out as just there's nothing for kids to do during Pride, you know, and I wanted to be exposed to people that looked like me when I was a teenager. And I grew up in Mississippi, small town. My parents were straight, so they didn't have LGBT friends. So I didn't really know what an LGBT person even really looked like until I was in my later teens. And so I felt like it was very important.
Did they look like you?
Just like me. And so I think it was very important that, you know, the more we expose them to difference, and that there are, you know, not just being that box that you're confined in, that your parents put you in, because you have no say-so, you know, up until a certain point. And I thought it was very important, so we wanted to create that environment to say, okay, well, there is a such thing as a LGBT youth, or Ute, prior to marriage equality passing, you know.
Part of my family's from Mississippi, too.
Okay. So you understand what I mean?
I understand the Utes, and I understand the Mississippi Utes.
Oh, man.
Well, if you haven't, I don't know if you've seen this, but I think it's on HBO or Showtime with the L Word, Mississippi. It's fascinating.
Wow.
It's just a fascinating aspect of especially lesbians.
Yes.
Who it just made me cringe and almost cry through parts of it because they have bought into this that they're going to hell.
There's a lot.
And I'm gonna love my girlfriend, and we're gonna build a life together. But I know I'm going to hell.
Yeah, self-hate. It's a lot of self-hate.
And it's widespread.
Yeah.
It's just amazing to me.
Yeah, and you know why my family really belongs in Mississippi? They would have supported Bernie, but he wasn't liberal enough for them.
Well, we have another big event coming up, and that's on Pride Day.
Big Pride Day, yeah.
Yeah, and that is there's a Family Pride Zone, which is another space outside of the actual parade for families. I thought this was a great idea ever since the inception of it. Tell us a little bit about it.
So, Family Pride Zone is a designated portion of the park based on Dallas's Big Pride, which is the Allen Ross Parade. Everybody knows that there's a celebration in the park always at Rivershawn. And so there's a designated portion of the park. Now for the past 3 years we've had it that is solely for families. And it's fun. It's wholesome, so you can bring your family out and introduce them. Even if you are LGBT and you have a nephew or a niece or even your own children, and you want to expose them to what the LGBT lifestyle is like, but maybe not necessarily expose them to all the other stuff that comes along with Pride, then Family Pride Zone is the place for you to be able to do that.
So I was talking to Amanda before the show, and it has some, this flyer has some stuff about it. What to expect and what you can bring and what you can't bring. It says no coolers, no alcohol, and proper attire will be listed among other house rules. And I said, what is proper attire?
Yeah, I said clothes. Just make sure you have on clothes. Keep it covered. Let's keep it cute, Dallas.
And what we're laughing, but what we're getting at is, was it 2 or 3 years ago? There was kind of an uproar with the Alan Ross parade because I guess the
swim trunk thing.
Basically the city of Dallas was enforcing already existing laws.
Right.
Well, and part of it was it rained that day, so the
trunks weren't
the white
necessarily
trunks that some people were wearing kind of became see-through.
Right.
But this is more than that. Some other people have really made a fuss about. Why aren't we allowed to be, I guess, a little naughty? That's part of being gay. That's part of our culture. You can agree or disagree with that. However, and they basically, so what about the kids?
Well,
and I think this portion of the park is kind of the solution for that, I guess.
Right,
you can still have the areas where the adults can be and they can dress provocatively or however they would like, but then this portion of the park is for LGBT families, lesbian and gay couples with children, and it's an opportunity for their children to play with children.
Wholesome families, so you're not looking for Leron's family.
Right.
And I'd just like to note for the record out there that not everybody who is LGBT dresses provocative wants to dress provocative. Of course not.
And that's the
We've
thing
kind of been talking about it like it's a given, and it's not.
It's not. But
it is not
talking. She tapes her nipples and
but I think also we have to kind of go back to our history, in LGBT culture. And I think we have to, once again, we have to meet where we are. We have to really identify where we are as a culture. And prior to just, a year? Not even a year? We made a year now, marriage equality.
Yeah.
So we're just now able to fathom the idea that we can get married. Right. So the idea of a family unit and that traditional American family picture that's been painted, is obsolete still. And so I think the more that we begin to have families and the more we are having children and adopting, then the more we're going to slowly start to fall into some of those traditions, and some of those standards are still going to fall. Just because we're LGBT doesn't mean that we still shouldn't have morals and we still shouldn't have values that we want to stand firm in and teach our children.
Right. Yeah, and maybe we'll get rid of some of those. Forgot to turn me back on. We were adjusting the mic here because it keeps popping away from us. And maybe some of the morals that we can get away from are, gee, my kid's gay, so I'll throw him out of the house.
Right.
Gee, that kid over there in school is gay, so I have a right to bully him.
Right.
How about if we get away from some of those so-called morals?
We have to start teaching to look at the person. How does the person treat you? How does the person treat other people? I say, my favorite saying all the time is hearts, not parts. I say that all the time because I'm more into, what's in your heart. How are you treating the people around you? That's more important to me than who you sleep with or the color of your skin. And I don't think it costs anything for us to help. I think that's what we're here for. And believe it or not, if we all just did the one thing that we were taught to do from kindergarten, which is share, if we just share, there's more than enough.
A life lesson too, not just with youth, but
just share.
Yeah.
I just want to go back to the Family Pride Zone thing. I encourage everybody to go, especially if you have children.
Definitely.
And bring a relative with you. It is really eye-opening for those who don't know. When you see so many LGBT families out there, it's like, well, I had no idea that they had so many kids.
Yes.
It's a really, really eye-opener, and it's a fun, joyful experience, and the kids get to see that, hey, I hate to frame it like this, but I'm not the only one who has two daddies or two mommies. Exactly. So it's a really, really great event.
Do you know, on Marriage Equality Day, what surprised me was when I was down there and looking for people that I knew, I knew hardly anybody getting married that day. Do you know who was there getting married? It was mostly couples there with their kid.
Yeah.
Because they were that anxious. And that doesn't mean there weren't some other couples there too. There were. But more than half were people I didn't know.
Who had children.
They have kids. And they were so anxious.
Absolutely.
That they couldn't wait to show their kid, yeah, we're just like any other family.
Right.
Yeah, we're entitled to get married to. Yeah, you have the same rights as everybody else in your school.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I would be hard pressed to think that you would know all the gay people.
No, I don't know all the gay people, but I
know,
thought I would know more people there that day. I really thought I'd know more people there that day. And it surprised me how many people I didn't. And had never even seen in the community.
David, are you a member of Rainbow Roundup?
No, I'm not.
So Rainbow Roundup is a group of LGBT families with young kids, and they have monthly events where they get together so other youth can see that there are other LGBT parents and families.
That's a great idea. Just because kids need to see that there's nothing, all that different about them.
And that's our same concept, with Teen Pride as well, is to create an environment for them to make friends. See other kids that, connect with other kids that are like them that's in this same area, and also expose them to the resources, and they get to have a good time with their parents. The stipulation for Teen Pride is you have to have a kid if you're an adult to get in. So it's solely for the youth.
How did I get in last year?
You're special.
Who knows?
You can volunteer.
But yeah, you're special.
And that was one thing that we were talking about before the show.
Right.
You do need volunteers. You have 3 events coming up. You have the back to school block party where kids can get
free school
clothes, school supplies, whatever they need.
Yes.
And this is for kids who are homeless or from poor families or
just whatever.
If
you need school supplies, come and get them.
On.
Or even if you don't need school
13th.
supplies and you want to just come hang out and meet other kids, it's
before
that kind of opportunity too.
Yeah. And it's at Oakland United Methodist Church on
Oakland United Methodist Church, August 13th.
Yes, August 13th, 4 to 7 p.m.
Okay, and then the next event is Teen Pride, which is the
September 17th.
Day before the parade.
Yes.
And that's also at Oakland United Methodist Church from what time?
It starts at 2 and goes to 7.
Okay, now you need some volunteers for these events. How do they get in touch with you?
They can reach out to us via email at info@rlc365. And
rlc365.org is your website. They can find you there. Yes. Okay, so for people who would like to volunteer.
And we also could use some charitable donations, so don't hesitate on that. It costs money to make these things happen. And we definitely want to give a shout out to AIDS Walk South Dallas. They are our physical 501 sponsor for this year. So anybody that's looking for any type of tax donation or tax deduction, then we encourage you to go to our site, and you would have to make your donations to AIDS Walk. But it's in care of RLC's Teen Pride or whatever event it is that you want to donate or sponsor to.
And then at the parade, or after the parade, there's the
portion in the Park Family Pride Zone.
And you could use some volunteers there.
Absolutely.
If you want to volunteer for Family Pride Zone, you go through the Tavern Guild, and they do Dallas Pride, so it's dallaspride.org.
Yes.
These are kind of old stats, but based on the 2000 census, the Dallas Convention and Visitors Bureau estimated that there were 86,000 LGBT people in the city of Dallas.
Yeah.
And 120,000 LGBT people in Dallas County.
Yes.
So those are estimates based on census figures, and they don't even ask the question on the census. But
absolutely.
We know that we're out here in numbers.
Yeah.
And this would be a great way to meet people, meet other families, meet other kids.
How many in the county?
120,000.
Oh, 120,001. Gabrielle was born after that.
Well, yeah, there's lots more. Yeah, we're
trying to get.
I think we've had some increase in numbers. Yeah,
yes, we have.
Yeah. I mean, and if we could get this, we can get the community to just come out and start to support. We talk a lot about the problems. Everybody, we can point out problems all day long. It's easy to point out problems, but we need people who are willing to come to the table with solutions. People who are willing to come and do the work. We need volunteers not only just to work the events, but even to help run the organization. It's a day-to-day thing that we're trying to do here. in saving lives and changing lives for young people. So don't hesitate. Like, if you're upset with things that you see, then be active, become proactive, and get out and get involved. You know.
If you see something, do something.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Right.
You know, and that's for young people. I encourage young people to get out and get involved, because there's not enough young people that's becoming a part of the activism side.
It takes action to bring change.
Absolutely.
It's not something that it's going to happen if I just sit here and don't say something or don't do something.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Okay, now here's maybe one of the most serious things we could do on the show. If a kid is listening to the show today
and you need help,
your website again is rlc365.org, and get in touch with one of these wonderful, caring women.
If you're on social media, then, you know, go to our Facebook, send a message via social media. We get contacted all the time like that, you know, through social media as well. Also, there is a new group that we hooked up with called Songalink. If you are a young person, then go to that website, log on, and there is connections, there's counselors, there's GSAs, there's resources.
Songalink is a social media network site specifically for LGBT youth to plug in and meet each other online. It's great for those people who might live kind of in urban or rural areas as opposed
to... What's it called again? Can you spell it?
Songalink. It's SANGHLINK.
Yeah, it's over 400 GSAs connected to this. So definitely tap in there as well if you need the resources.
And I think one of the great things that your organization does is, with volunteers stepping up, is these parents who threw their kids out didn't win.
Absolutely.
And hopefully they realize when they come to, when they get woke about what they've done, they're going to be grateful that there were people like you and your volunteers in the world and there for their kid.
Yeah, we always try to let them know, you know, your present is not your final destination, you know, and we tell them all the time, you're one decision away from changing your life. And so what you do is completely up to you. You don't have to stay where you are and be a product of where you come from. And I'm a great example of that. I talk about it all the time with them, because I didn't come from, you know, the best of the best. But at the same time, I can definitely say when I look at myself on paper and I look at where my life is, it's a complete contradiction.
Wow.
And so they can do the same thing in that aspect.
Mm-hmm. Good stuff. Sacred work.
Yeah.
Sacred work, guys.
It really is. So... there are so many needs out there for gay youths. What are you seeing that you'd love to see started, and you'd like other people to do it because you're doing enough? I mean, you just don't have time for more stuff.
Man.
What are some other services you would love to see? Let's just throw it out there, and you never know what's going to happen.
For starters, here in the city of Dallas alone, I would love to see a youth homeless shelter that is specifically for youth.
Okay, Promise House,
for
are you
LGBT
listening?
youth.
For LGBT youth.
That's actually one of their next goals.
I know it, yeah. We've been talking with Promise House, and we've been doing some work with them, and Councilman Madrano and the LGBT Task Force, actually. We've been doing quite a bit of research and trying to find out how that can happen as far as bringing a shelter.
It would also be nice to have, like, maybe a youth resource center for LGBT youth to come and gather, because they don't necessarily have a lot of safe spaces where they can hang out. And so, it would almost be more beneficial to have, like, pocket centers here and there, just because, like, having one big facility isn't always accessible. They'd have to rely on public transportation. They might need money for their DART passes or their Metro passes. So
almost like library branches. I mean, and even if there's no facility specifically, that may be something that could be on my wish list.
So Dallas Public Library, I think you have one or two gay librarians out there.
Right, exactly. But all these locations exist everywhere.
But maybe in some of their meeting, and I'm just talking about like an Oak Cliff branch. Exactly. Not that I think anybody who works there is gay, but
or in Oak Lawn,
or their branch manager. But like maybe in their meeting room once
a week, that RLC could, or whatever organization, even if it's not RLC, that there can be a platform for young people to come and have a sit down or a meeting, and keep in mind,
or a game night,
just something somewhere for them to go and enjoy themselves and have a good time. And it may not necessarily, and I think that's the thing, we look at numbers initially, but we also have to remember it takes a while for a young person to be comfortable enough to come out, and we're not comfortable yet as a community. So it's gonna, until we get to that place, then that's when young people are going to be more free to be who they are.
I would also like to see comprehensive education.
Absolutely.
Like being able to go to my sex ed class in 9th grade and learning about lesbian couples and gay couples and transgender, just the way that they do safe sex, or even just the transitioning process. Some kids aren't exposed to that, and then a lot of times they'll go Google and they come up with pornography or something that's not necessarily helpful.
That's the next thing I would love to see.
We are out of time, and I want to thank both of you.
That was about to be a subject.
And
you asked the question.
I know.
You don't want to get me started on that one.
I do want to say next week our guests are Aaron Moore, Brian Cross, Candy Markham, Carolyn Hall, and we're going to be playing the Newlywed Game. We also need some people to help us on the phone for next week. So if anybody is free, get in touch with us on our Facebook page if you'd like to come help us out here on the phones next week, because some people will be in a soundproof booth during part of the show. We'll see you next week.
Thank you, ladies.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
This is William, hopefully your favorite videographer from 2X Publishing. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you like it, please leave comments below, or like, follow, or subscribe to us and get notices of all our videos. We love it, even when you call.